Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
We're going to get some answers today. She is somebody who can provide those answers. Sometimes she does it in a story. Sometimes she just blurts it out. Sometimes she offers some coaching. By the way, on the story side, she is a Heyuka. Am I saying that right? Heyuka?
Right. No, I'm a Heyoka. I'm
Heyoka.
a Heyoka by the blessings of the Lakota people of Oklahoma and Thunder Beings also of Oklahoma.
That the definition of that is storyteller. She's an intuitive, she's a healer, and we're going to look at the future. We're going to see what's going on, and let's see if this stuff eventually becomes true in short time. Janis Reed is back with us. Hey, Janis.
Hiya. Hey. Yeah, one of these days Heyoka is a lot of different things when different people do it, but storyteller, I guess, might define everything. So that's cool. I'm a storyteller. That's how I do it.
Well, many
we're
times,
troublemakers, and we ruffle up the feathers, and we make people go woo under their what they thought were comfortables, and display the truth of things. And we work for great spirit, and so we're pretty much just idiot people. Like, we sound like we're crazy people, but this is what I do for a living. I'm a crazy woman, and today, I admitted to you earlier, I've been watching the news again. I can't not look. It's like this train wreck. Like when I was in high school, me and this guy called Willie, we'd go out and watch the stock car races because that's what you did in South Alabama. I was there then. And for the life of me, anytime he would say, "Hey, look," I would look. Just as the stock car, sailed over the edge and outside of the racetrack and landed in the parking lot, and just terrible, terrible things. I'll look anytime. So I've been looking at the news, and there's some interesting things going on with American news, and so I wanted to get to the bottom of it, insofar as I could. And when I saw what it was, I thought, well, shoot, let's just share that today, because my joy, the whole reason I talk with you is to try to help bring happiness back. We've had entirely too much sexy time, I think, although that was fun at the moment, but now we need to bring happy back. And happiness is like when life just sits kind of comfortably on your shoulders. It's there. It's not a free ride, but it's a good way. It feels good. We're not overpressed by it. To me, that's like a satisfaction in my beingness. And because I was born on the 7th of July and the country was born on the 4th of July, I get in there and like to do our reads as one to see, what's happening in the church of what's happening right now, baby. And so I laid this past, present, and future card spread. And I was going to share that with you.
Now, before we get there, I'm curious. Okay,
sure.
And I am curious to see what this card pull is going to reveal. But do you personally pull cards to figure out life in general for yourself personally?
Yeah, I do. It's like having a second opinion, because I can never really predict what's going to be said. And sometimes it answers the bigger question for me when I thought I was going to like sneak by with the little one, like a little white truth instead of the great big monster truth that I have to swallow hard for. But I've been doing it for so long. For the first, 15, 20 years, I hesitated doing it for myself. And then I had a girlfriend teach me how to play tarot whisk. And I still don't know if she invented it or if it was made after something else. But we'd play tarot whisk, and I learned to relax and see the patterns for myself instead of for me. It's just the beingness of who I am at that moment. It's kind of a split mental picture. To do the game, we sat facing each other, her with her deck of cards and mine with my deck of cards. and we lay out a spread, each of us, like one after the other, me one card, her one card, but we're both laying out the same spread. And when we were finished, what I had done one half of, she had completed the other half of, and vice versa. And they read differently, but they fit both of us. It was so confusing that you just ended up reading the cards instead of trying to figure out who it was for and what's coming up. So it was a great game to get out of myself, to get into myself. And I laid these today because the first card that laid down represented fear. This is America's past. And it was just obvious to me that, yeah, politically living in this country, we've become fearful of ourselves, fearful of our ungodly power. And that's exactly what I meant to say. Other countries are looking in on us, our upcoming elections, going, oh, crabs. What if that nut gets back in there? We got to prepare because he'll try to blow us all up. We've been living in fear. And the fear mongers, they've been throwing out things to be afraid of, because when we live in a state of fear, we give all of our energy to whatever we're afraid of. And that makes us at home with nobody guarding the gate, so to say. So from fear in our past, presently, we're working with the spiritual messages that we're receiving. And they're coming to each of us in our own kind of spiritual way, even if it's like a flip of a coin, whatever calls us. We're feeling that we can shift, and we're shifting away from that fearful state of every day breathing. What am I going to breathe in? Should I breathe out? Should I even breathe in? Because if it's poisonous, we've just been in such fear. But we're centering back to ourselves now. We're coming back into the realization that we have our inner power. We don't have to give it away to something that fears us. Because if we're not afraid of it, maybe it doesn't exist. Maybe we can change it. Maybe we can control that. So these messages that we're getting are causing us to break away from living under just a pure curtain of fear. This is good. This is good. Listen to your inner messages in whatever way you watch them, the billboard, the shaving cream signs as you go down the road. Let yourself break free of the fear. The fear doesn't serve you. That serves somebody else. And you might not even know who they are, but they're sucking the life out of you by causing you to carry fear for them. You're carrying somebody else's bucket, and it isn't water in the bucket.
Now, question: what if the fear? And I'm going to look at fear in a different way. What if somebody has anxiety and fear over medical test results? There's some fear involved, afraid to go to the doctor and hear what they're going to have to say, that kind of thing. So
go to the doctor, find out. Stop guessing. Stop cutting yourself short. Well, if you don't know and you're afraid of it, what can you do to find out so that you have some kind of something that you personally can know is the truth, that you're in control of knowing that little bit of truth, even if it's death coming at you?
Well, it goes back to, and we said this a while back, and I've heard it many times, and I pretty much live by it. And there's been surveys done before, and it always comes back about the same. Roughly 93% of the things that we worry about, 93% don't materialize. You're thinking about it, you're worrying about it. Oh my gosh, what if?
Mm-hmm.
You're wasting.
We're trying to create it.
Yeah. Well, that's the other part of it. Yes. When I think of it that way, if you believe in manifestation, what you think becomes reality. So now you're thinking this over and over again.
Guess what's coming for dinner?
Could be. So don't even worry about it.
We call our fear to us. That's the thing about fear. If we don't call it, it generally doesn't show up. We actually have to call it to us. There's a few things, like the blade coming at us that, maybe that's our moment for fear. But most other fears, they belong to somebody else, or they belong in our imagination, or they're just maybe whatabees. So maybe whatabees, it turns out the best way possible. What if this opportunity isn't ending when the pie slaps us in the face? Maybe the ending comes when we wipe the pie off and find out that, we've won $1 million because we let it happen.
Hmm.
We have to look for what we want to manifest, which brings us to the future. The future is about creating. It's about weaving our future. It's a great, big, beautiful spider web. And it tells us that in the future, we can rewrite the rules. In the past, the rules have been be afraid, be very afraid. I'll come at you. Even be more afraid. You must elect me. I'll make you afraid. To now, this moment of reasoning, of listening to our hearts, to our minds. We're not just dumb. People fell for Hitler too. They weren't dumb. They were afraid. They were afraid they might upset so they voted for him. He was actually voted in. History buffs go, ooh. And we're having that opportunity presented to Americans now. Shall we vote that kind of malignant fear back in? Or do we get hold of ourselves, listen to ourselves and go, I believe I would rather take a chance at creating a better story. There is going to be, I believe, another perspective brought to the constitutions and our lists of amendments. And that great body of work will have it'll have a little work done on it so that it can be brought up to date with the ways that we live on the planet now are very different than we lived on our farms in the mid 1700s. So there'll be some amendments, some shifting of the words, some broadening, some clarification, so that this kind of opportunity doesn't show itself, at least for another 250 years, when those planets line back up again. But rather than tragedy for our future, it appears that things will be rewritten in a more wholesome way and will follow, and everything will be affected. These new rights will include the world. They won't just include Virginia, South Carolina, Montana, Utah. No, the new shaping will include global issues because we are a part of that World Wide Web. So saith the Janis.
Do you have a card for us? Now, which one is this? I thought you said you were going to pull 3 today.
So the first one was fear. This is Jamie Sams and David Carson card set, animal cards. It's got my favorite pattern on the back. There's a lightning for the lightning thunder peas. First was fear. Fear is what we are letting go of. Just let that by. Yes, we've had enough fear in our lives. I know I have.
Same.
I'm getting my happy back. This is what's bringing my happy back. That's a hawk. That's a message.
Can you push that closer to the camera?
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful picture. Can you see it?
Yes, very clear.
So the hawk is the messenger from Great Spirit. Eagle would represent Great Spirit. Hawk flies just under eagle in the hierarchy of things, I suppose. And this represents spiritual messages coming to us, intuition, kismet, all sorts of. That's what's happening right now. We're listening to the messages that are coming on high. There's sense, there's common sense here, common horse sense, bird brain. We're being offered an opportunity to get to reset, to recompute, reconfigure, recalibrate. That's what it is. To weave a new story. Spider sits and she controls the web. She knows what's on every string and droplet that's on the string. She knows where every piece of dinner and snack is there, ready and prepared. She's ready for the future. And she can write her own story. She has the tools necessary, pen and paper, even if they're skyborn. So we can recreate. This is not a recreation of what was. This is not another way to fear. This is a way of creating brand new stuff. That's what's coming, not recreation, new stuff.
Now, when you pulled these cards, what was your intent? Were you asking the universe for answers on something specific? How did it all go?
Yeah, it's over there. I didn't have it with me right here, but I specifically wrote down, I want to bring happy back. I want to help bring happy back. That was my question. And then I laid an entirely different spread involving 7 cards. And after that, I laid these 3. So they weren't first off the draw. They were an ad minimum to the original reading, which I left over there. I didn't even study it. When I saw these, we have such a short time. This seemed like the shortest, sweetest, best way to share with you today.
Do you believe that, okay, the hawk represents something I personally wouldn't know, that's way out of my wheelhouse. But when you think of a bird, so I went to the bank, I was taking out some money, cashing.
Ooh, lucky.
Doesn't have it on. There was a bird in front of me, and he was in a tree, in a bush, right there. And he was just squawking, wouldn't leave. And I just sat in my car and I'm like, interesting. Seems like this is for me. And I didn't even know what kind of bird it was. I'm not far from the expert. So I looked, I got an app and downloaded it and took a picture, sent it in. That's how long the bird was there. I'm like sitting here. It turned out to be a mockingbird. And I don't know what that represents. I mean, if it was like mixed messages when I had looked online, but does that resonate with you in terms of, the meaning of a bird?
Well, what you described, it was definitely mocking you.
Or mocking somebody else. I don't know. I don't know.
Mockingbirds in general just have lots to say. They're observant. They like to share what they know. And just as, for me, looking at them, bird people fly between earth and sky. So they pick up the higher notes, the higher altitudes of expressions, hence the spiritual messengers. And they could be any kind of bird. Wild bird is best, of course, because we don't even want to talk about the caged birds. So the mockingbird came. It was suitable maybe for that area of where you were. That was a timely place to see it at. You won't be seeing a tropical bird there if you're in the north, probably. If you did, maybe that'd be something to look at and see again. But yeah, I look at each different kind of birds. I was doing a reading for a lady one time when this shadow, I was looking out into my kitchen yard, and this big, huge shadow came really low. And I'm looking at the shadow when I realized it was the eagle was about 4 feet up off the ground doing a low cruise by my sliding glass doors while I'm doing this woman's reading. And it tickled me. She had no clue what an eagle might represent. Was that Manny?
I had a feeling you were going to say eagle. I don't know why. I saw a visual of a big, majestic eagle flying above.
Loud. I think loud.
I just remembered with the mockingbird, there was some biblical reference too in some of the searches I did. And essentially they were referring to how if you are religious, how you are to mock a god, emulate what the god stands for in your everyday life. And that's that's the connection to that particular type of bird. I don't know.
Oh, that sounds good. That sounds really good. Mind what you say.
Say if Jesus, I'm not doing religion here. I'm just going
right.
hypothetical. But
different cultures, different representations. Yeah.
greater good, forgive those who sin, things like that, then you should mock that in your life. And that's what it said. When you see the mockingbird, what it's trying to tell you. I don't know. I don't know. I got nothing. I just know that that damn bird didn't want to go anywhere. It had something to say. I don't know what it was. It was probably
Oh,
repeating somebody else, but whatever. Um, what the cards that you pulled today, Janice? What's your overall vibe? You pulled three, and go back over what the three mean very briefly.
fear, then that was in the past. Currently, we've got some spiritual messages, some higher thought coming in, um, more more hopes and wishes for the greater good as opposed to personal good. These are good thoughts coming in. And they're going to lead us to an ability to rewrite our rules, our regulations, how we do business, so that
Hmm.
the fear becomes medicine right now. It's transmuting from fear to productivity, from poison to cure. That's what's happening now during these higher thoughts, higher spiritual thoughts, the greater good.
You know what is interesting? You said before, the pie in the face, and I got a visual. Man, nobody wants a pie in the face. It's the gag, old time TV. Come on. But I got a visual of somebody getting hit with the pie in the face and going, it's actually really
Lemonade.
good. It wasn't some. I mean, another one of those where
Really?
where we fear something, but it's not so bad after all, and you might actually like it. So what you're fearing, or maybe the lesson that you might learn in something that is coming your way, whatever it might be. Could be a pie, whatever.
Mhm. Yeah, mom taught us kids that you have to at least taste it before you hate it.
Right.
And we'd have to taste it in front of her. And every once in a while, man, she was right. It was good. We all agreed that eggplant, though, there was no reason for eggplant.
Until you get older and you add cheese to it.
Yeah, yeah, it took a long time.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like it's almost as good as chicken parm, eggplant parm is wow, that's actually pretty good. The word egg. So, quick story. I only just started liking eggs about a year ago. Not scrambled. I haven't graduated to that yet, but in an egg sandwich. Like a Dunkin' Donuts egg sandwich or whatever. Or somebody makes it deli, whatever. Um, And I was like, why did I not like that? What's what? And I thought back, it's because my grandmother used to take a raw egg and throw it in my I love chocolate milkshakes as a kid. And she's like, put a little egg in there. And she'd throw it in there. And I'm like,
For the
ah,
protein.
yes. And then I would hear as a kid, I'm 7, 8 years old. Then I would hear over here, raw eggs, stay away from the raw eggs, really bad. And then here she's dropping that raw egg in there. So I think I just, I'm afraid of eggs ever since I was growing up. And then I didn't like them. And then I just started liking them again. It's like, well, all right, that's and now I make egg bites at home. I don't cook, but that's one thing I cook.
There's
Uh,
things you can do. Yeah. Eggs are so easy to cook.
yeah.
Boil, broil, whatever it is, throw it in on something else. But yeah, I was, gosh, in my 20s before I put salt or pepper or seasonings on my food. I was so overwhelmed by the flavors that were already there.
Mm.
And, everybody else at the table, their taste buds wanted this salt and sugar and pepper, and I just eat it plain. It was delicious. Of course, now I have to slather it with everything, but we learn our taste buds change, our body of information that we know about the world changes.
Hmm.
We get braver, we get more afraid. You know, mom finally cons us into it.
Or your
Things,
grandmother scares you.
yeah,
Or somebody
circumstances
does.
change.
Right.
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah. So this
Yeah.
is it. We're going to have better times. We're going to write our own ticket. So make sure that we write what we want and not what somebody else is trying to scare us into thinking we want.
Well, there you go with the manifestation, and what you believe or what you think is what's going to take place. So why think the bad stuff? Why worry? Why have fear? Because you're just bringing it to yourself. So think positively, and be the spider. Always be connected to what's going on. Have it.
Spider-Man. Yeah.
I loved Spider-Man when I was a kid.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But we've got the power. We do. We don't have to listen to anybody else's fears now. We can reconstruct and recreate what we think is important about living our lives here. Literally rewrite our future. It's a lovely idea.
And
We're all,
why
we're a great
not?
experiment. Yeah, this is the great experiment. It's democracy get up. So we're still experimenting. I think it will survive to be experimented on a little bit more.
Well, I love the cards that you pulled, and these are just random. You were just, throwing it out to the universe. If somebody wants to grab a little bit of intuition, maybe have a card reading for themselves or a current situation or whatever it might be, or get some of your insight, how are we finding you, Janis?
Well, you can find me on an email, goddessjanis2 at outlook.com. You might be able to find me at goddessjanis at hotmail.com. You can find me on Facebook, Janis Reed, or you can telephone me. Hey, I'm Eastern Time in the USA, 276-579-2883. Once again, let's get your area country code together on your own, because I don't know where you're calling from. And then call area 276-579-2883. Tell me you're not a telemarketer. We'll talk.
And 2 points here. Don't text. That's a landline, because you live in a valley in the mountains. The cell phone thing doesn't work. And I've never thought to mention this, but when we say read, it's REED, Janis Reed, right?
Yes. If you spell out everything, Janis A. Reed, that's my name. I've got a middle initial that's an A, so it comes out Jan is a Reed.
Ah, okay. The A is awesome. That's what that stands for. That's your middle name, Janis Awesome Reed.
Well, yeah, various stories about that A.
It's not the one you're thinking of. Thank you so much for being here. And I'll be thinking about those cards and thinking about that hawk, and we'll talk soon. Okay.
Yeah, I hope so. Take care of yourself and mind the weather.
We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.